This is about the only way I could get this to work. So I'm Reed Lindsay, and I'll be presenting on African American representation in local news. First off, for my demographics research, I found that 287,959 total Oklahomans are Black or African American, and that makes up about 7.35% of total population. And this number was a bit lower than I thought it was going to be, but it puts it into perspective that Oklahoma is 28th in the nation in a percentage population that is Black or African American. And then third, I found that 88.99% of Black Oklahomans graduate from high school and 19.49% obtain a bachelor's degree. These are about the same numbers, I assume, of other races graduate with degrees and high school degrees or diplomas. In history, in 1920, a racist massacre took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And as the video will show, it's largely been wiped from memory due to the cover-up that took place afterwards. And yeah, I'll play a little bit of that video for you.
After unarmed father Terrence Crutcher was shot and killed by police, hundreds protested here in Tulsa. What many didn't know is that nearly 100 years ago, on these very streets on which they were marching, hundreds of African Americans were killed in one of the darkest chapters of Tulsa's and America's history. A lot of folks around here used to whisper about it over the decades, but nobody, Black nor white, wanted to talk about it. And that history was being forgotten. Before it happened, Tulsa was the scene of a thriving, wealthy Black community.
Black Wall Street was the most prosperous Black-owned business district in 1921.
This was Black Wall Street. There were hundreds of Black-owned businesses, everything from banks to pharmacies to the doctor's office. And Black folks were making really good money. There were even 2 movie theaters, all Black-owned and operated. Segregation was in full effect. We heard that there was a gentleman who owned a plane. Is that true?
Simon Berry was a pilot and owned his own plane.
Black folks were rich here, basically. They lived very good lives.
Many of them, yes. Yes, which caused some envy and anger among white people who commented, how dare those Negroes have a grand piano in their house and I don't have a piano in my house.
1921 rolls around. What happens?
Some type of confrontation between Blacks and whites was inevitable because of the racial climate at that time, because of the presence of the Ku Klux Klan in almost every aspect of our society. But on this particular day, May 31st, 1921, a young Black male named Dick Rowland, who worked as a shoe shine boy in downtown Tulsa, went into the Drexel building where he had been given permission to get water and use the restroom. There was a young white girl named Sarah Page who was an elevator operator. And Dick Rowland every day would go into the elevator with Sarah Page. On this particular day, after the elevator doors closed and Sarah Page and Dick Rowland were alone in the elevator, a few moments later there was a scream, the elevator doors opened, Dick Rowland ran and was later arrested, and Sarah Page initially claimed that she had been assaulted.
Brown says Page never pressed charges, but
So yeah, pretty much that kick-started a wave of riots and crimes that were needless, and it was pretty much a dark history in Oklahoma media history because they refused to cover it in the correct manner. Local media coverage nowadays, in 2020, the nation erupted in unrest due to the killing of George Floyd by police officers, and local news network News 9 released an article about George Floyd, and it was an interview with one of his good childhood friends who in the article did a pretty good job at humanizing George Floyd and making him a very relatable character instead of just this larger than life event that was tied to his name. As for African American news personalities in Oklahoma, I could only find these 5 who get significant screen time. Joseph Holloway, Paris Jones, Mecca Rain, Jason Hackett, and Patrina Adger. They all work for different local news networks across the state. And finally, my closing thoughts. Oklahoma News has done a decent job at covering and representing the previously hugely underrepresented African American and Black communities in the state. The number of African Americans or Black Oklahomans is significantly lower than I thought it would be. I also believe the state could use more Black news personalities, and that more diversity in the media would greatly benefit the state and its people. My work cited, and thank you.